So good morning, everyone. Very welcome at the celebration meeting, the 10th meeting of the Hungarian Pancreatic Study Group. I just wonder whether is there any kind of pointer. Thank you. So thank you very much for coming, because as I mentioned yesterday, there are huge amount of excuses you could have been able to say why not be here, but you are here because you were interested in the Hungarian Pancreatic Study Group, and you came here to be together. And if I look at about the face-to-face meetings nowadays, it's I think it was around 2-3 years ago when I had the chance to attend the face-to-face meeting. I go back a little bit in time, because of course before clinical science we started earlier, and we started with the basic science. And I never forgot the day when I went to Newcastle upon Tyne as a Wellcome Trust Fellow in '99, and I felt that, oh, I already close to the PhD, I know everything from science, I have the knowledge to understand everything in cellular level, also in animal level. And when I arrived there, I had to realize, if this pointer doesn't work, that there were no pointers that time. Okay, so I looked that into the mirror and I saw that again it doesn't work. Okay, it works again. So I looked that into the mirror and I saw actually that after one day, when I listen all the photometric issues, all the inhibitors, all the transporters channels, that my scientific knowledge is close to zero. So I said myself, okay, so now I have two choices. One of them is stay there and try to actually learn something from the very beginning, or go home. So because I had no money to fly back to Szeged, I had no other choice but stay in Newcastle, and I started learning. So there was a very difficult but very nice 2 years learning curve in Newcastle upon Tyne. After, when I came back from Newcastle to Szeged, we started investing, and especially from the UK's fund, from the Wellcome Trust to the Szeged lab. After, it was a huge recruitment program for PhD students, and that time the first PhD students in 2004 arrived. Victoria Venglovets was my very first PhD student. And actually from 2008, we arrived to a level of basic science. This was the time when we had the first gut article concerning the effects of bile acids on pancreatic ductal bicarbonate secretion. And we continued our activity because we wanted to find new targets, new therapeutic targets to actually to treat pancreatitis. And of course, what led actually to the success that we looked at to the mirror and looked at where we are, and we wanted actually to improve. So we said, okay, now we have new targets. What to do? We need patients to test it. So we looked the mirror. Where is the where was the Hungarian clinical pancreatic science? And we saw that we didn't have adequate patients road for pancreatitis patients. When I looked at the publications, everyone published their own small center data. Almost all the analysis was retrospective. There were no pre-study information, no meta-analysis or sample size calculations. We had lack of absolutely clinical research administrators. There were low clinical outcomes. We had no available Hungarian evidence-based guideline. We had no organization. We had absolutely no common voice. Everybody said that individual ideas, and we had no international visibility. So second time in my life in pancreatology after basic science in '99, I exactly felt the same in 2011, that we need to do something again, self-criticism came. So what to do? So I do believe that opportunities don't happen. You must create it. And I know that I sent an email to Marco Bruno because what I did, actually, I just looked at who are the best in the world in clinical pancreatology, who publishes in New England JAMA Lancet continuously, and it was Marco. So I sent an email and invited him to the very first pancreatic study group, and he accepted the invitation. Unfortunately, due to a local, very important clinical meeting, he couldn't come, but immediately said, Péter, I am very dedicated in Europe to help other organizations to develop. So he said, he sent two very dedicated young lady, young students. It was Sandra, I think, and I don't know the others. Hannah was from the pancreatic cancer group. And actually, when I went to the airport, I was totally surprised because what I waited, you know, old ladies maybe who are very expertise for 30 years in clinical science. And there were two gorgeous 28, 29 years old a lady. And I said, oh my goodness, this will be a total disaster. In Hungary, there will be the really, really top professors coming here. And actually, when they see the ladies, they have no chance. And actually, the level of scientific discussions, criticism, what they had, actually pointed us that actually not really the ages, but the knowledge and your activity will determine how to go forward. So I didn't do anything original. I just actually looked at, or we looked at what the Dutch Pancreatitis Study Group and Cancer Group do. And actually we saw that there are two very important issues. One of them concerning is the team, that we together, everyone achieve more. And the second is when I looked at Marco, it was very clear whether I have to decide I would like to be a boss or a leader. And definitely the success is coming when you try to be a leader. So in 2011, there were three issues came. First, honesty, that we saw where we are. We had loving pancreas. This, I mean, it was the second issue. And the third one, what I always express to my students, the burning desire that you want to do something. And actually this generated in 2011, the Hungarian Pancreatic Study Group. So we started immediately a pancreatic registries, a system, an electronic clinical research data management system. We started building up a network. And again, the real success came in basic science, not about me or not about the ideas, by the young students who arrived to the lab. So we exactly followed the same issues in clinical science. We had a huge number of absolutely brilliant students. From 2016, we started randomized clinical trials, and we really would like to be a world-leading pancreatic study group who providing absolutely brilliant data for pancreatology. So when I speak, a couple of people, they believe that science equals actually knowledge, success. So if you have a good knowledge, you will be successful. However, in my career, I had to realize that this is not the case. Success definitely not equal knowledge. Success is equal knowledge times activity. So the only way is to go forward, to actively, continuously work for the aim and for the motivation you would like to achieve. And thank you very much, Andrea, who put together these very nice slides concerning the meetings and also the photos. So we had really every year an activity. We started in Szeged when the Szeged clinical group was leading, and after we went further. Of course, the international appearance was also important. All the meetings were in Hungarian, and every meeting we had international guests. And also not only actually in clinical science, but also we were involved in the UEG basic science workshops, also when we were in Szeged, or also when we were actually in Péter. And if I look at about our publication records, until 2011, we had a very, very strong basic science, and we have a rare amount of articles in clinical scientific part. However, from 2011, you could see the continuous rise of the clinical scientific part. Unfortunately, Of course, because many of us turned to clinical science, the basic science part was not as expressed than it was before the study group, but the continuous elevation, we could still keep this kind of activity. So if we look at our activity before 2011 and after 2011, we can say that now we learned the methodologies of the clinical sciences as well, and we are using it. If I also look at the quality, because of course, not only quantity matters, but quality as well. And if I look at about the D1 publication, which means in the CIMAGO ranking, the top 10% of the journals, the Q1 means the top 25% of the journals, you could see that the elevation actually in numbers came also with the quality of the articles. And altogether, if I look at all publication records, or those as well, which were generated directly as a corresponding study group like the Hungarian Pancreatic study group, we had a good appearance in top GI journals as well. If I look at about what is our strength currently, is definitely the pancreatitis, both acute and chronic pancreatitis. However, you will see this 2.5 days where you are with us here, that we are now moving towards to pancreatic cancer as well. We are at 0. So third time I have to say we are at 0, but no problem. We will try to go further. So, and as I mentioned, if somebody asks me what was actually the real success of the Hungarian Pancreatic Study Group and the basic science of our activities, definitely not the leaders, but the 25 PhD students in pancreatology who graduated, starting from the basic science and after going and to the clinical science part. So in 2011, this was, as Miklós referred yesterday, that it was one of the best small workshop, acute pancreatitis workshop he attended in 2011. And this workshop was really, really the best pancreatologists being there. Even they are with us here today and looking us about how we are performing. And after in 2012, we had the very first meeting, and as I referred at the very beginning, in Szeged. This was the first conference of the study group. 2013 was a very good event because Miklós became older. So we celebrated actually Miklós' 50th birthday as well. And actually we continued a really, really good quality publications. And each year we could actually attract more young people, and we could publish, of course, because the young people arrived, actually more articles. And in 2015 was again a milestone, because by that time, when in 2013, the International Association of Pancreatology and the American Pancreatic Association published the first evidence-based international guideline in pancreatitis, we immediately started translating it, and we were one of the very first society in Hungary who actually published all the guidelines in our own language, actually for patients' benefit. In 2015, there were another moment, because when we arrived in a level of basic science, it was very clear that to start clinical trials, you must have a unit for patients. So we had a huge effort in Szeged to get it. But unfortunately, at that time, the Szeged University thinking was you are either a basic scientist or a clinical scientist. So there were no combining the two. But at the University of Pécs, I met Áron Vince, who is the head of the GI department there. And actually, he was absolutely welcoming. So we could there bring together the basic scientific part and the clinical scientific part. So I move for the opportunity from Szeged. I still going back to Szeged and enjoying Szeged, but due to opportunities, when it rises, you must actually go. And the big difference in 2015, what we started doing differently, that in every field of research, medical research, we use professionals. We had money. This was the recruiting request from the University of Péter, that we got money to establish an IT group, to have a operative data and clinical studies management group, a biostatistician group, and a medical group. And actually, because not the students were done on the statistics and all the other parts, we could concentrate actually on the clinical part, and we got really professional helps. And it's still at Budapest at Semmelweis University, we continues this further. In 2016, after that, we organized again the Hungarian Pancreatic Study Group meeting, and we involved also many Eastern and Central European countries. After, in 2017, there was again a big event in Hungarian pancreatology, because we not only had actually the clinical Hungarian Pancreatic Study Group meeting, but again, we could welcome by Gábor Varga the European Pancreatic Club. So for the second time from 2019, we organized the Hungarian Pancreatic Study Group and the European Pancreatic Club meeting as well. And after that, we kept up actually the activities, and due to the clinical work, we could elevate the number of articles, because of course in the lab, to get an article, you need huge amount of time, work, effort, years to do that. But actually in a clinical part, if you have a very good data set, the number of publications, of course, really, really much more. So after in UEG basic research workshop, now in a second time came actually to Péter, and we continued with also with the new students, the Hungarian Pancreatic Study Group meetings, also in 2020. So this was the very first time when we go online, actually with the Hungarian Pancreatic Study Group meeting, but we still continued actually our activities. And actually, this is the 2021 meeting, what we had. We usually keep the meeting in November, December. So we will have another meeting at the end of the year, because we don't want to miss meeting. But because COVID-19 in December and November, it was a high peak of the epidemic situation. Therefore, we decided not to have a Zoom meeting again, but postpone a little bit the 2021 meeting and hold a face-to-face meeting. And in 2021, another event came, again, opportunities. At the University of Péter, we wanted to get more patients in pancreatology, because we felt we can do much more. And that time we had a small unit with only 8 beds there, and we had only the acute pancreatitis unit. But at Budapest Semmelweis Egyetem, the current rector, Béla Merkeli, said he definitely dedicated to bring the Semmelweis University to the best 100 universities worldwide. And to do so, he must have a very strong basic and clinical sciences. So he offered actually a huge pancreatic unit. We have already started our work on 25 beds, including oncology, pancreatic oncology as well. And we started planning around a 6,000 square meter big pancreatic center with 60 beds, which most probably will be ready to move in 3 or 4 years. And here again, our definitely aim is to have a center of excellence. And again, third time when I move, what will generate the success? The young people. So we started also the translational medicine educational program for clinical science at Semmelweis. Now we have 91 PhD students from all over the categories in gastroenterology, gynecology, orthopedics, everything. So we not only would like to serve pancreatology with our knowledge, methodological knowledge, but also we would like to actually serve the whole universities. And how we would like to further develop, because never the main issue is where you are moving forward. In the healthcare, we definitely would like to have an absolutely multidisciplinary unit with not only with medical professionals, multidisciplinary professionals like internal medicine specialist, infectologist, oncologist, everything, but all the other part, including physiotherapists, psychologists, dietitians, and now we have a very big, very largely dedicated team. Second issue is we would like to keep the interdisciplinary level as well, including as many as experts from outside of the medical field to help us. And the big issue is continue about the scientific activity, as I said, because success coming only knowledge plus activity. So I strongly believe that the Center of Excellence for Pancreatic Diseases at the Semmelweis University will further develop. And the secrets of success is very easy. Of course, you always need to have a vision where you would like to move forward. You need the young talents, as I said, this is the basis of the success. You need a very specific goals. And as I said, we want to reach the level of scientific activity, the best, like the Dutch pancreatitis study groups. Of course, you need to do it ethically, looking at publications and everything. You need to have a very clear strategy. One of my usually used common motto for the students that hope is not a strategy, because when they say how they would like to achieve something, they start, I hope, and I immediately stop them. This is not a strategy. You need very, very specifically going forward. You need inspiration. Without inspiration, you can't move forward, and you need partnerships like you who are here. And it's very easy that what is the secret actually of science. So if I look at my life, because not only Miklós, but I also get older every year, that what made me like this pancreatic research, you need to find always a group of people who challenge and inspire you. And I need to spend a lot of time with these guys, and it will change my life actually. So thank you all, be giving inspiration and challenge for us. So thank you all for changing my life in pancreatology, and also generally, because I think if I look at backwards in the last 20 minutes, no, it's also like a family. And of course, not only you who inspired us had a very important issues, but if I look at my publications, if I or the leaders could see in further, it was only the young students' knowledge base, and the young students were giant in the issues. So also thank you all for your hard work for the Hungarian Pancreatic Study Group. So thank you very much for coming. I really look very much forward to this face-to-face discussion, and let's celebrate the 10th anniversary of the establishment of the Hungarian Pancreatic Study Group. Thank you very much.